Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're tackling a genuinely fascinating and honestly highly critical issue for any growing institution. We are going to dive right into exactly why you might be losing highly qualified families before they ever even set foot on your campus. I mean, think about it. We put so much effort into marketing, into open houses, into campus tours, but what if the real problem is happening completely in the shadows? What if families are quitting your enrollment process before they even say hello?
Okay, let's just jump right in by busting a pretty massive myth in the education space. So many school leaders firmly believe the enrollment journey starts when a parent formally submits an application. But actually, scratch that. It couldn't be further from the truth. Enrollment doesn't start with a piece of paper or a digital signature. It literally begins the very second a parent becomes curious about your school. Curiosity is the true starting line here.
And this really brilliantly illustrates the disconnect that's costing schools so much growth. Over on the left side, we have the application submission, right? That's a formal, high-commitment step. But on the right, it's that initial curiosity. Enrollment starts way before a parent completes a form, well before they schedule a visit, and long before they ever actually speak with your admissions team. So if you're only starting your enrollment process at the application phase, you are completely missing the most delicate part of the entire parent journey.
Which brings us to Section 1, the silent disappearance. Let's look at exactly why families walk away. Now, what's really interesting about this early curiosity stage is just how invisible these families are when they decide to walk away. Because they haven't formally introduced themselves yet, they don't have to formally say goodbye, do they? Let's trace this journey. First, they visit your school's website. Next, they click around a few pages. Maybe they check out tuition, academics, maybe the athletics page. Then they might even go as far as to ask a question through a contact form. And then, poof, they completely vanish without a trace. You never hear from them again. It's the classic ghosting scenario.
While a lot of us assume these ghosting families just weren't serious to begin with, that assumption is actually dangerously wrong. The reality, they were very serious. So why do they quit the enrollment process? Well, often they leave because of missing information. They just couldn't find what they needed on your site. Or maybe there was zero follow-up. They asked a question and just heard crickets. Or, and this one hurts the most, they leave because a competing school simply responded to them faster. Ultimately, it all boils down to friction.
Moving on to Section 2, the true cost and the unseen financial impact this has.
The absolutely crucial point here is understanding the staggering, unseen financial and growth impact of these silent disappearances. We tend to just shrug off a missed web inquiry here or there, but let's break down the math for a second. Imagine if just 10 interested families visit your school's website every single week. For most of you, that is a very conservative number.
Now, if only 2 out of those 10 families encounter that friction we just talked about, say they can't find an answer or they don't get a fast enough reply, and they just disappear silently. Well, that simple math translates into more than 100 potential enrollments lost every single year, just quietly slipping through the cracks. Over 100 families who were genuinely curious about your school, who were ready to be engaged, but who quit the process simply because it wasn't seamless. Just think about what 100 extra students would mean for your school's budget, your culture, and your growth this term. It's absolutely huge. The painful part of all this is that most schools only measure the left side of this picture. They throw a big celebration for the students who enrolled. And hey, they absolutely should. But you know what the fastest growing schools today are doing? They are obsessively measuring and tracking the right side. They want to know absolutely everything about the students who almost enrolled. They are entirely focused on stopping this enrollment leakage.
So let's get into Section 3, removing the friction. This is where we get into a really actionable strategy.
How do top-performing institutions actually stop these leaks without just artificially inflating their ad budgets? Simple. They become incredibly easy to navigate. They focus on reducing friction by relentlessly asking these 4 critical audit questions about their own enrollment experience. First, where exactly are parents dropping off on our site? Second, what common questions remain unanswered by our current materials? Third, honestly, how quickly are we responding to inquiries? And finally, how easy is it for a parent to move to the next step? Look, if the next step requires printing a PDF, filling it out by hand, and mailing it in, yeah, you've definitely got a friction problem.
And this right here is the secret the fastest growing schools understand. Making simple, small adjustments to how you respond and how you guide parents often yields way higher enrollment gains than just throwing money at new advertising. Think of it like this. If you have a leaky bucket, pouring more water into it with expensive marketing isn't going to fix it. Plugging the holes by removing friction is the real game changer.
I highly recommend you try this exact exercise this week. Reach out and ask 5 recently enrolled parents this very specific question. What almost stopped you from choosing our school? Don't ask them why they love you, ask them what almost made them quit the process altogether. I promise you their answers will be totally surprising, and they're going to immediately reveal your hidden friction points, those exact hurdles that are tripping up the families who aren't making it to enrollment.
Now, if you want to immediately discover where prospective parents might be quietly disappearing on your platform, you can actually take a free 2-minute digital maturity assessment that was mentioned in our source material today. You literally just answer 6 simple questions in under 3 minutes, and you get instant, actionable recommendations to fix those hidden friction points that are costing you new students. It is a fantastic starting point for plugging those leaks.
Because here is the ultimate takeaway, folks. The fastest growing schools, they aren't the loudest, and they rarely have the biggest advertising budgets. They are simply the easiest to choose. They respect a parent's time and curiosity right from the very first click. So the final question you really need to ask yourself as you look at your own processes today is this: what steps will you take right now to make your school the absolute easiest choice for a curious family? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this helps you rethink your approach to enrollment growth.